us to really truly understand that like the work is expanding beyond Kalamazoo and is informed by best practices outside of Kalamazoo as well. So I'd like to now invite up our Goal 2 leagues. We have Lola and Jennifer and Diane. And they will talk about accessibility as a given for also the food in this whole area is our racial healing community of practice work. And Jay will be here to talk about postings.
Yeah. Welcome. I'm loud, so I probably don't need this. What Goal 2 is really about increasing access to healing. And so healing and restoration is really important. And we know that there's a lot of stigma in many different cultures to what that looks like and what's safe and who you could tell your business to. How many of us know that there are a lot of secrets that are kept in homes? And culturally, it is a piece that can sometimes harm us. And so this work is in its beginning stages. The healing community itself, we are really excited about. The goal and these action steps were created by the community as a whole. And you will see 5 different action steps that are part of the blueprint. Our group really honed in on one this year. We really connected on the action step number 1, promote healing, behavioral health, and trauma reduction. Our number 1 goal is that there are many entities in our community that are healers. There are many entities that are individual therapists, and then you have institutions that practice healing, whether it's small groups or are able to bill Medicaid. And so we wanted to bring this community together. That was really our initial goal for 2025, to really wrap our arms around the healing community and allow all voices of healers to come together. Just to highlight a few of the individuals that are a part of this group, and if you were a part of this group, I would love for you to just please stand really quickly. You'll see organization listed here, but there are 18 in the room, and so we thank you. Many of these institutions and healers that are a part of this work have been a part of this work for years and years, and we've been fragmented and almost siloed. And so our goal is to bring everyone together. So we just like to thank the individuals that have been a part of this group.
All right, so looking at our little pie chart, you can see that most of our assets fall in the organizations and services and current initiatives and program. So like Lola had mentioned, there's a lot of good work that's happening in Kalamazoo. We just always don't know each other exists, and we aren't coordinating with each other. So this was a good place for us to start. We didn't think that we needed to start 5 new programs in this community, but we needed to really understand who's here and the work that people are doing, and so that everyone can benefit from what's happening. So like Lola had said, we are in our initial stages, so we're kind of a baby goal, getting things together. So we wanted to try to create space for honesty about what's working, what's not, and where the systems break down. So we had some good conversations of people in the room sharing their experiences where the system did break down and they weren't able to get what they needed, and gave us a chance to look at that. And what are the reasons that those systems broke down? So we took a really good look at barriers that exist. That was a lot of the work that we did. We wanted to make sure that we knew the barriers for individual programs or services that existed within those systems. What are barriers for the community in accessing and getting the services that are available? And then what are those barriers within systems where things break down and people aren't able to use or to access what's out there? So in our work, we were building trust and relationships because the healing work isn't going to go anywhere without those 2 things, right? So that was some fundamental groundwork that we felt like we needed to lay. And we do need more people to engage in this. We wanted to make sure that everyone understood our definition of healers as well too. So we're not looking at people who have a license to practice therapy only as healers. So there are many people in this community that do healing work in many different forms. And so our group wants to make sure that we embrace everyone and for what they contribute to that healing work. And so we want to get you to join in with us. So really in our work, 3 priorities kept consistently emerging over and over again. So that's where it was leading us. So we know that we have to improve access to healing through stronger navigation and coordination. So if I don't know that a system exists or I don't trust a system that's out there, I'm not going to send somebody to it. And so we're losing access to a service that could be beneficial to people. We also know that we need to nurture a diverse and inclusive community of healers. So that's what I was just speaking about, is that we have a broad definition of healers because people heal in many different ways, and we want to make sure that there's opportunities for people to choose that healing path that works for them. Then we also know that we need to support healers and foster resilient organizations. So sometimes in our work too, I feel like there are organizations that are there 1 minute and they're not the next. There are organizations that do span the history of time, but there might be barriers to getting into those systems too. And we also know that healing work takes a tax on us, right? So if we don't have strong and healthy healers, then that work that they do is going to not benefit the people that they hope to benefit themselves. So it's kind of taking care of ourselves as well, as healers. So some of the progress that was made, we had a couple examples. So I'll let Jennifer talk about YWCA.
So at the YWCA, my name is Dr. Jennifer Mills. I'm at the Senior Public Health Advisor at the YWCA. I actually would like to just take a moment and acknowledge YWCA team members that are here. Would y'all just raise your hand? This group is involved in healing work all day, every day with survivor visit bias. They do an incredible job. In fact, we know that prior to a gun violence incident, there's often intimate partner violence. And this team is at that front line every day. So one of the things we did at the YWCA was partner deeply with Zora Keeper and her team at ISK. That's meaningfully started to reduce barriers. Often people don't understand that when people had exposure to violence, accessing your services are kind of hard for a variety of reasons. And so we wanted to get people in the room connecting with each other that can make those more handoffs feel safe. So another thing that we did was the YWCA has trained 23 people in the community health worker model, which is awesome. People who are already advocates doing the frontline work, when we deploy this model together, we start to come into relationship with one another, through that relationship, can do those warp handoffs and make sure people get the resources that they need. So now we have this huge body of folks that are ready to get out in community, to connect with other community health workers, CBI, CHWs, CHWs at the hospital, at the Federally Qualified Health Center, at ISK. All of those folks are starting to come into community together on a regular basis through the Community Health Worker Coalition that we've established. So if you're a CHW or a CHW-like position and you want to be in space with one another and start hearing what other people are doing, build relationships, get access through relationships to those great services that are happening, look for an announcement about that Community Health Worker Coalition.
One of the other things that we're really proud of is because of this this meeting room, we're able to really make some deep connections. And so we are really excited about ISK's willingness and openness. They don't like that I call in this title, but they're the personal words for those of you that don't know. They receive the majority of the funding that gets filtered into our community, and they contract with other organizations. And so they are a huge entity that have a part of this work, and so we're extremely grateful. And they're an entity that our community sometimes rejects the most. There's a lot of stigma of wanting to go and work with the man. And so a lot of our work that ISK has been doing is bringing individuals into their work that they are currently doing. And we're really excited about another progress point, which is Prevention Works, Bent Not Broken, Griffith Place, all working together with ISK and juvenile justice work. It's a huge point of access for youth and for us to be able to connect with families on the front end. What we learned is that we've been talking about this community health worker, and for those of you that don't know, we're talking about money. This is a sustainable model. So many of these organizations apply for grants as sovereign entities. And so we're applying for grants as separate entities. Oftentimes we're competing against each other. This community health worker model is when people are at different organizations and they are trained as a CHW, when we get our community violence intervention staff trained as community health workers, that means we get to bill the federal government. We are no longer looking at internal local resources to sustain all of our organizations individually. And so this model is a huge model. It is a model that's currently worked out at the state level on what will be billable. And so what we are doing as a community, we are setting ourselves up for success for the long term, to be able to bill the federal government instead of all of us competing locally against each other, trying to get grants to sustain our staff who look like the people that want to be served. For many of us that are healers, unless you're like me, you went to school forever, or like Dr. Jennifer went to school longer than me, you need a bachelor's or a master's degree, even a doctorate, to be able to be a healer. What we are saying is healers look like all people. My grandmother was a healer. I used to come up to school me off the chain, and she used to have these sitting canes. There are strategies that are from our ancestors, like dance and movement, like meditation. There are so many strategies that can be used, and you don't have to have a PhD to implement them. What we're saying is there are community members who are healing people right now, who are in active practice. And we have to be able to take Eric from Bronson to connect him to Carmen at Rooted, because he has a young person that when he was doing his whole intake in biopsychosocial on a kid as a social worker for all the social workers in the house, he's learning about what this child's interests are and is able to connect them to the source. It doesn't have to look like old ways, old thinking. We are about innovative new ways and how we sustain them with money. So we're not asking for our local community to give us money. We want the man to give us money. We want the federal government to pour into this community. So this community healing work that we've been talking about, you have to understand, it is about sustainability. So we can do this work long term. Not the short game, we're talking about the long game. And so many of the things that we found is that you also as organizations, we're trading the same topic, trauma and resiliency, over here at Griffin, then we're trading it over here at the Y, then we're trading it over here at the Public Institute. Why aren't we all coming together and doing a training together? All funders in the room, any funders in the room? All right, you keep asking us, how are we collaborating? Through the blueprint, we are trying to bring us together to collaborate. This is a prime example of several of us who are healers. It's heavy lifting. Those that are on the front line, it's heavy lifting. We're working the problems and burdens that are not always solvable. When the lights are out, but you have all these other issues, you only focus on the lights. We can't even get to the deeper issues. What we are trying to do is bring us together. That's our future goals. And so those of you that are at different organizations and you've been offering your own training out of your own budget, Cut it out. We want to do it together. So we would like for you to join our group if you're interested in doing some shared resources where Prevention Works puts money on the table, ISK puts money on the table, Griffin and Family and Children's Services. Let's put all of our money in the pot. We all have a training line item. Let's get this stuff done. We should be able to work smarter together. Instead of always looking for more money, let's use our money strategically. And so that's one of our future goals. So when I'm sorry, I'm a little aggressive. I like to do action. Well, I'm trying to get stuff done. Like, I'm sick of all of these separate line items. We need to pile the money together, okay? We all have a training line, and I know the county has a training line item. Who's here from the county? Because I know your line item is deep. Bring your money to the table. Bring your money to the table. We should be training together. We should be healing together. We should be building networks together. That is one of our focuses in this group, specifically on stop needing on all, funders, please stand. We still need your money. But at the end of the day, not for training. That makes no sense. We want to work smarter and harder. And so I know we were saying the same things over and over again. One of the last really important things I'll let Jennifer really address is we need trusted messengers, because I'm not going to go to ISK if I will see anyone that looks like me in ISK. And ISK is doing a phenomenal job with expanding their employee base. They are hiring as many Black and brown individuals as they can, okay? But there's still so much stigma around healing. And we need trusted messengers that can handhold people to really get the deeper work done. So Lean Off Healing, with Healing Our Purpose, they are huge navigation of trusted messengers. They are at our table, and they are frontline Stevie Iver, but also coming to say, I trust Leonard. That's not me, not really my man. This is like, we work together to do it at home. We work together to do it at home. We work together to do it at home. And at the end of the day, I trust Leonard. I trust Eric. I always say this, and forgive me for using you as an example. Eric is a white male, but Eric has shown up to every healing meeting that we have. He is so reliable and at Bronson and wants to make sure anybody he serves gets connected. So white male, I don't care what color you are. You, my man, you are here every day and trying to figure out, how can I partner together with you? How do I get Eric connected to Lena? Lena is in the front lines, and she's like, I trust Spirit. That is a bigger plan.
Welcome to the church in Lola.
Shabab. I think we're good there. Are you going to Jerry? What?
Yes. Okay.
Let me go back. You all in somebody else's business. Wait, you keep on going forward? Y'all are. I'll say shit, thank you. I tried. Technology is not my thing.
So, all right. So I'll speak on behalf of the racial healing community of practice. Under desks, you'll see a note letter, and it's called Operation Healing Express. It's an invitation to join the racial healing community of practice. And what's important is that we're all interconnected. I know you people say what's this, but we are. That's what helps us be strong, keep each other accountable, and innovate. And so the purpose of the racial healing community of practice is to create a future where racial healing is open into the fabric of Kalamazoo, that all healing resources, also rooted practices are accessible, community held, and freely available. And I mean, just the same as what Diane is sharing, many of us are racial healers. If you're a HR professional, creating anti-capacity policy, you're a racial healer. If you're a childcare worker, creating a diverse curriculum for our kids, you're a file, you're a racial healer. If you're a swimming instructor, teaching white brown kids how to swim, you are definitely a racial healer. And just know that the letter on your desk, the door is always open for folks who want to be part of the community, who want to try some out, who want to pilot and see how we can make racial healing more accessible to Kaohsiung. The racial healing community of practice is community for genuine. So we will only do what is asked of us because our neighbors are best. Yeah, thank you.
I want to say to round that goal too, that what we hope to do moving forward, I think in 2026 with all of the blueprint, is see our goal groups work more together. So you heard us talk about community health workers, goal 1 talked about community health workers, and that's a part of our work too, is to figure out where we can join together and intersect as well.
Thank you, Go-To Leads. Thank you for the sermon, Robert. And we now invite our Go-Through units.
Everyone. So we're just trying to figure out timing because there's a lot of information still to share. We're at goal 3 of 6. So we're gonna try to cut a baby a little bit shorter. I don't know who has the clicker. Oh, I'm Beth Berglund. I'm the Director of Policy and Strategy at the Michigan Transformation Collective. Good afternoon, good morning. I'm Ashley Burgeon. I am with Griffin Place.
Hi, everybody. Regina Nelson, Western Michigan University. Oh, I'm not on. No. Hi, everybody. Regina Nelson, a retired professor in early childhood education from Western Michigan University.
So like the rest of the goals, we have goals that were community developed, and over time, we really started to focus on 3 of the 5. 2 of these goals are like really, really handily managed by KidNet. So there's we're not gonna recreate something that doesn't need a new space. So we think about youth being insured, deposit, caring for reliable adults, and providing academic and social opportunities for youth. Those are 2 spaces where we just fundamentally realized that we are trusting our partners and trusting the folks in the community and continuing to hold the things that we as a group of leads didn't need to focus on. So our 3 priority actions are really with focus on childcare, restorative practice within schools, and then youth jobs. Go ahead. And with the other assets that were identified by the Mill team, really our main focus really is our deep assets are within organizations and services. We have a lot of work focused on children, youth, and community, and initiatives and programs, and it wouldn't be my Walgrow if we didn't have policies and legislation. But really thinking about it's not for lack of trying and for lack of funding and for lack of programs for a lot of things. It really is, like you've heard in other spaces, a lack of coordination of care that we identify. And so back in 2.5 years ago, the last time we were here, we had not yet had our first Kalamazoo County Child Care Coalition meeting. We were about a week out from that first meeting, and in the 2 years, year and a half that this has been going on, we have built a huge list of partners. And I also want to recognize that this does not include the list of parents and teachers that is now meeting on a monthly basis. Thanks, Jay, for coordinating that work. We have a vast amount of folks at the table, funders, government, program providers, institutions of like resource management. And also you can understand that a monthly hour-and-a-half long meeting for a childcare provider is really not going to happen. So we have a separate time, a separate space in the evening where providers and parents can come together and bring their voices to lift up their needs. I also want to recognize that from the very beginning, we made sure that our funders were at the table. And they have been amazing partners in this work, helping us to identify the ways in which resources are already laying out for our community, but also ways in which their access, their information, their ability to coordinate is really being leveraged in these spaces. The Child Care Coalition is both aligned to the Blueprint for Peace, but also to a regional child care effort that is as part of a statewide child care effort. So 2 years ago, the Southwest Michigan Child Care Coalition is an effort funded by the state to look at the economic impact of the loss of childcare and the lack of childcare to the whole state. And every region wrote a report, and just like the Blueprint, it all came together right about the same time. And so as we were moving into Blueprint work, we as MTC looked at that and said, okay, we need in the county, we need our own space to look at that report, to pull it apart, to decide what we really need as a community. And being embedded both in this public health approach, looking at gun violence, but also in a regional work and statewide work, looking at the economic impact, has really given us the ability to leverage local, state, and national conversations around wages, around the lack of access to care, around primarily the fact that our whole county for babies, for families of 0 to 2, is a child care desert. We have one spot for every 4 babies under 2 in our county. So if you are a person who is like, oh, hey, childcare is super affordable, you're wrong. For a family of 2, with 2 parents and 2 babies, you need to be making $400,000 a year in order to be under the 7% federal recommendation for the cost of childcare. So we have childcare providers who are making just above the minimum wage right now. The minimum wage is like $13.70 something, and the average wage is $14.27. Next January, the minimum wage in Michigan is going to be $15 an hour. Every single one of our providers, our babies, taking care of our most precious humans, are going to be making the minimum wage, and that is not minimum skilled work. We are not talking about people who are answering a call, who are walking our dogs. Dog walkers make more money than childcare teachers, and people who have credentials and people who have the skill set necessary to be those trusted community loved partners we are entrusting with our babies, and they are making less than the person who is cleaning your dry cleaning. So we have this systemic problem that is happening. The child care providers in Michigan who are providing care for our lowest income families below 200% of the poverty level have not gotten a wage increase in 3 years. When we talk about macro system problems, they haven't gotten a raise, and the minimum wage to TVs should go up. They can't control that, right? So their costs are going up, they're being reimbursed by the state, but they are not being reimbursed at a higher level. So some of the systemic things that are happening in the state, we are really trying to focus on as a community, as a regional and countywide child care coach. So I'm going to talk a little bit about restorative practices. I'm going to move quickly because I know that our goal is really expansive. It has a lot to cover, and we still have several goals left. So restorative practices in schools, we facilitate at both KPS and Portage Public Schools. We have really honed in on a focus this year in KPS at the middle school level, where we know that those services are most needed and most utilized. So when students are in conflict, to prevent those conflicts from escalating to physical fights, and in some cases,
to provide youth with an alternative to suspension. We bring them together for participation in community circles, in conferences, in restorative conversations to really build those skills around conflict resolution. And so focusing at that middle school level has really provided a huge support for those schools to reduce some of that violence that's happening in schools and really provide support in restorative communities within that school. This is also where you see a lot of cross-school collaboration. So you heard Tia talk in Goal 1 about Stop the Shooting, Stop the Violence with youth diversion work. We also participate in that through the Juvenile Arrest Diversion Program with Justice Lifted. That is a collaboration with Goal 1, with KDPS, with MDHHS and their prevention team, with our Kalamazoo Public Schools who refer into that. Students who are meeting those Tier 3 needs within the schools, they're referred into the Arrest Diversion Program, and it's a 90-day intensive program that builds skills, helps identify goals, and walks alongside them to provide that off-ramp from justice involvement. We partner with a lot of community organizations because we know we're not the only ones providing support to these youth. So we partner with Bed Not Broken and Prevention Works, allowing for the families to have some of that full support. That program was funded by a grant that ended last year, and KPS stepped in to allow us to have some sustainability for that program. So now our team are in schools 5 days a week, all day, to provide that in-school support for those youth. We also provide restorative justice community trainings. So we are right now, through a grant, able to provide those trainings at no cost to the Kalamazoo community. And that's really just a way to support not just organizations, but families, people, individuals. We have a lot of youth-serving organizations that are attending those trainings to really get that foundational knowledge and then equip them with the skills that they need to be able to live out those restorative practices. So that's the ongoing work that we are doing, and we're expanding. And really what we want to see over the next year, we work a lot with the juvenile homes, with that juvenile arrest diversion program, but we really want to create more of a continuum that when students are sitting out of the juvenile home and moving back into the school, that we're there to really provide some comprehensive support to those youth. That includes YAA. A lot of our students, when they leave school, when they're excluded from school, they're going to the Youth Advancement Academy. So a lot of our intervention specialists are operating out of the Youth Advancement Academy with those youth to provide that support. But once they're going back into schools, there's not always a full support system to ensure that those students can reintegrate back into that school. So this next year, we really want to focus on how do we bridge that gap across the continuum to ensure that those students have that support that they need.
That's another focus of Goal 3. And this is probably our more current project, so we don't have as much to report on, but we do identify a model that's working for youth jobs, and that's at KRESA, the My City program. And after meeting with Reggie, who runs the program, he told us there are 2 barriers that they're facing. One is that there are more students who want to have a job during the summer than they have slots for. The second is the people that they want to reach to have these jobs, they're not always meeting the application deadline because they find out later. So we figured that this is something that we could support with the referral program and finding other programs in the community that provide youth jobs. So we started to bring together some partners that you'll see up there who also provide youth jobs, and started meeting with them to see how can we address these barriers by having a common referral system and a database for jobs. So students who are looking for a job for the summer or during the school year, even as we start to think about this, can go to one place, look at all the opportunities are there, see the deadlines, see the kind of support that they can get for job skills development and other things that they need, and start applying right there. So we're in the midst right now of developing that. So as our partners share information with us, we can take all of that information, put it in one place, and then make sure it gets out to the community, to the schools, to organizations, so youth who are looking for a job can access those opportunities. So if you are a youth program here and you either work with youth who you want to refer to get a summer job, or you have summer job opportunities, we need your information. So there's a QR code up there. It's a link to a survey where you can just submit your information to us. So whereas we're collecting it, we have your information and we can follow up with you if we need more information. But hopefully that's enough to get your information out into the community so we can increase access for youth who are looking for these opportunities. This is important because we know if we want youth to stay engaged in schools, they always want to know, what am I learning this for? How is this going to help me in the future? So if we can get them connected to career opportunities early, they're going to be more motivated to stay in school and work towards that goal and with our support of our community. So I think it's very important if our community wants to meet these goals, not just to help them survive, but to thrive. So putting them on this pathway will be very important.
So, like we started out saying, and everyone has, really talked about already, that the main thing that we have learned is that collaboration is the most important part of what's happening across our bowl. That without consistent coordination, without someone who's tasked with putting a meeting on a calendar, that none of this work would be happening, and that all of this leaps forward, honestly, in work in some of these spaces. You need community partners who are willing to collaborate and coordinate to expand access. And I think with the childcare work especially, because it's been something that we've been working on for longer, we've been able to take some huge leaps and strides in that work. And I looked around the room, and I think there's a person at almost every table that is involved in the Childcare Coalition, and I got so emotional. So, we've got a massive opportunity to address some of these things, which are statewide problems or national problems. This is not like a secret. And every single week, somebody sends me a link to some sort of article from California where they've been implementing pre-K, and the local community-based childcare providers are not able to pay their teachers anymore because they can't keep their buildings open. We're having the same problem in Michigan. We've got all sorts of opportunities, but when elected official says a tagline in speech without the understanding of the entire rest of the system of care and the repercussions that are going to happen, we're trying to figure out how to address some of those things at the local level. And I keep looking at Jen Streps, and I just want to give Jen and the rest of the folks at the county an enormous thank you for identifying this as a problem that we could actually address countywide. If you haven't heard about it, I can't walk away from this microphone without saying that we are focused on local resources for families under 5 in Kalamazoo County, and are planning to put, with the county commission's approval, a millage on the ballot for August to support wages, to support access of families, to lower the cost of care, to support the system. Like everyone has talked about resource navigation, to talk about the family access to information, the child care provider access to information, CHWs who are interlinking what's available with community need. All of these groups are looking at those things, but we had the ability with a county-wide effort to really look at this. I can't tell you how exciting it is, and it's still really scary. So, but when we think about Kalamazoo being a childcare doesn't 0 to 2, the cost of care, the lack of actual wages for providers, this is something that we can stand up for as a community. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. The next looking ahead, and that was my looking ahead. But with these jobs, Regina, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, we covered it.
Okay. I will say that K-12 funding has been a priority of the work that we have done when we're at the Creative Foundation as TRHT, as MTC. We continue to maintain really strong presence in statewide coalitions that focus on education, justice, and funding. The Michigan Education Justice Coalition and Michigan Partnership for Equity and Opportunity. Through both of those coalitions, focus on the funds that K-12 needs to actually meet the needs of all of our kids, instead of just handing a bucket of money to schools, actually giving different resources for English language learners, for students with special needs, for districts with high concentrations in poverty. And over the past 3 budget years, those have been like massively successful changes in the way Michigan distributes money to school districts. There is going to be another effort to look at special ed funding and the way that those resources are distributed, but the ability to embed this community's voice in those spaces in a way that otherwise we wouldn't be showing up. When we go to meetings, there's nobody else from Southwest Michigan even around. So being able to collectively bring that space together, have community forums. Last summer, we had funding a community conversation as a goal group. Pretty soon we're going to have one on special ed funding because of the need for attention to that across the state. The intersections between special ed and juvenile justice and zero to free, all of these systems of care for families, kids. We absolutely have to have a better system that actually funds the needs of the child versus just giving the school districts a bucket of money regardless of the child's need. So those kinds of things are the things that we're working on statewide. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'd like to now welcome Reggie and Andrea, our Goal 4 leads.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea from United Way of South Central Michigan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reggie Ferguson, VK RISA, Michigan Workshoe Services.
And I have to tell you, I missed the last Blue County Profuse Council meeting, and so my co-chairs volunteered me to present. So that's what you get. That's what you get. We're really excited to talk about economic stability. As you've heard, kind of a through line of these goals. Economic stability, upward mobility, it impacts gun violence. Gun violence and high rates of poverty are correlated. We see that data across the country. So a lot of times when I'm out talking about this work, people are like, what does this have to do with gun violence? But hopefully you'll see a really good connection here. We have a lovely cross-sector working group that includes government, business, education, nonprofit, and community members. And as you can see with everybody else, our action sets were defined by the community. We have a really big work right here, right? Economic stability is work that we've been doing for decades, and count two, we haven't solved the problem yet. So as we spent probably the first 6 months of last year trying to figure out what the heck we were going to do with economic stability, we really determined through our asset mapping, we have people working on these things, right? Housing, have an amazing continuum of care. Weehaka County is investing a lot of money into housing. Goal 5 is working on housing. Child care, you just heard the update from Goal 3. We're like, we don't need to duplicate that. What we saw over and over and over again in the focus groups that United Way hosted across our 6 counties, in the listening sessions that we held for the blueprint, in all of our work hearing from our clients, transportation is a key barrier. We have services available and people can't get to them. We have jobs available and people can't get to them. And so we really decided to hone in not only on one action step, but on one word and one action step, and to focus on transportation access as the lever for economic mobility. So out of that, we formed the new Kalamazoo Transportation Access Coalition. It is a coalition that is just a few months old, so there's still plenty of time for you to join us if you're interested in this work. And the goal of this coalition is to provide resources to increase stabilization of transportation access. As we know, ending economic disparity in Kalamazoo is a path to reducing community violence, and all the data shows that lack of access to transportation is a key barrier for ALICE households. Does anybody in here not know the acronym ALICE? Okay. But if there's even one person, I will explain it. It is asset limited, income constrained, employed. We at United Way are very hyper-focused on the ALICE population, and we're happy to come do a presentation on our ALICE data for any of you. So I want to hit you up on that. But basically, we're talking about people who are working, like sometimes 2 or 3 jobs and still not able to make ends meet. They make more money than the federal poverty line, so they're not eligible for a lot of services that the government provides, but they still need support. These households are struggling with access to transportation and restricting access to basic needs such as food, employment, childcare, education, healthcare, family, and social activities. And so we just know that it's a really important lever. Dusty, do you want to pause now?
or you want me to pause? So, there's another goal area that Dusty and the team are working on here, which is to equip organizational policies and practices to support safe and inclusive work environments. And I don't want to gloss over that, so Dusty will present on it.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dusty Jokma. I work in Rig Service in Kalamazoo. My volunteer job at SK, the one I joke around and don't get paid for, is I'm one of the co-leads of our Justice, Equity, and Trauma team, along with my co-lead Cheryl Nebedet. And we have been in conversation with the partners for over a year now about there are so many of us doing DEID work at our agencies. And it seems like almost all the agencies have a team or a collective, no matter what you call it, right? We call all sorts of different things for funding reasons or whatever it may be. So what we have wanted to do, and I know that so many of the agencies are partnering in this work, right? We've had conversations with WMed, with KDCC, with Family and Children's Services, with many other partners, and we said, we are doing these things, right, to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging within our agencies. And so often, as leads who are trying to push this work through, now ISK is now an organization of 500 people. So Cheryl and I take the lead in trying to push this work at such a large organization. Burnout is real, right? Like, we get exhausted. I can only survive because we operate in the co-lead model. Same with Cheryl. We talk about this all the time, that we have to take a step back or step forward for each other. And so why don't we do this work collectively with all the organizations? And that's where Kalamazoo Collective for Respect and Values comes in. As part of the racial healing community of practice, we want to come together and bring together all the DEIB leads throughout the community to have a community, right? A community of practice to support each other, to share resources, to share knowledge, to say, hey, this is what our agency is facing together in this work. How do we do this in collaboration, in support of one another? So we're starting that work. It's right at the beginning. We got some key leaders together that will be meeting this week and hopefully be expanding and growing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so once again, though, we're asset mapping. We're really thinking about all these key levers. And we have the biggest cookies of the pie for funding and grants, I think. Part of that's because I'm a funder, so I'm aware of the grants that are available along the community. And also, it's just because the funders in this community are really dedicated to economic stability as a lever for community growth. In 2025, as I mentioned, we spent most of that time planning. So we only had a few months of 2025 to really get any work done, but we got a lot done. We introduced a special funding process for innovative solutions in childcare, housing, and transportation through United Way Economic Stability Grants. Those awards should be announced in the next month or two, so we're excited about that. They were pretty large grant amounts, and we're hoping to see some really creative solutions come through there. And then again, the creation of KDEC. This is to meet key stakeholders of economic stability. We spent a lot of time in asset mapping and reviewing community listening sessions that were conducted for the blueprint. We are also really excited to be engaging in some transportation-specific community listening sessions to really hone in on what people are looking for out of this work. What we learned, economic stability is incredibly broad. Asset mapping did show collective impact in areas of housing and childcare, and transportation access emerged as a key lever. So that's where we decided to step in to fill a network gap. Looking ahead to 2026, all of these things are already in process at various stages. We have a grant currently funded by a private partner on transportation for healthcare access, which is an amazing partnership with some people in this room, including Bronson and Metro Transit. And it's also bringing in a nonprofit partner from Mid-Michigan, to county that helps with transportation for healthcare access. One of my favorite stories about KTAC, and we're new, so I'm sure that we'll have a lot of other cuts, is this Michigan Mobility Fellow opportunity. So right after one of our recent meetings, Nolan from the city of Kalamazoo emailed me and said, hey, in the past you've had these climate fellows from CEDAM, from the state of Michigan. And we don't have the opportunity to do that this year, but my colleague forwarded me a really interesting opportunity for a mobility fellow, which is a 15-month program where the state of Michigan would pay somebody to come work full-time in the city of Kalamazoo around mobility issues. Do you think we should go for it? I was like, of course we should go for it. What do we need to do? What do you need from me? So we came together really quickly, the city, Kalamazoo County, and United Way on how we would put together a collective application for this project, how we would fund it. We were going to get a cost-sharing plan. We went to the county to get permission to spend some of the dollars they set aside in the budget. We're all set to go, and we come to present it at our next KTAC meeting. And Sean from Metro says, we're actually applying for that. And I was like, great. Now we're not going to both apply for it. We're not going to send in competing applications. You know they're not going to pick both of us. Let's come one combined application. Metro already had a developed budget. They already had a developed job description, and they already had somebody who was ready to supervise this person. All things that we were kind of scrambling to decide. So instead of putting in our joint application from the city of the county, you decided to write letters of support for Metro. They would include projects from Kalamazoo Transportation Access Coalition into their job description. And now the money that United Way was going to put towards cost sharing for the actual fellow is going to be a budget that this fellow will be able to use if we get accepted when they're here in the city, in the county, right? So this is like really impactful. We'll see. You. In addition, we have business partners on our coalition, which is really exciting. I'm very used to working with all of you in the room, our lovely nonprofit organizations and government, but we don't often get business partners at the table, but they are here, and we're hoping to bring even more of them. United Way is hosting an executive leaders summit on employing transportation. In May, the date is not finalized, but if you are an employer and you'd like to come, please come see me afterwards. I'll add you to my list so I can invite you. But we're talking about what is the employer's responsibility to make sure their employees have transportation to and from work. What does that look like? Who in our community is already doing that really well? Because there are some examples of employers who are doing that really well. And they're going to have a panel where they can share not only they're doing it out of the kindness of their hearts, but also what's the return on investment for them, right? They don't have constant absenteeism or turnover. Finally, we're really excited because we do have local government at the table on the opportunities for policy and advocacy for equitable access, improved infrastructure for mass transit, non-motorized transportation, safe streets for all infrastructure, etc. Do you have anything to add from Paris's standpoint?
So one thing that you guys are going to hear through all of our working groups is a common thread, and along with the blueprint as well. The common thread is community involvement. As the chief spoke about earlier, as every group lead from every group, goal working group has spoke about, we can't do this work without community involvement. And that doesn't always look like a monetary thing, although the monetary is amazing as well. But involvement and the participation is what's important. As you guys see and as you guys hear about all of the goal working groups, the wheels are turning in your head and you're thinking, how does my organization, how do I fit into those? I guarantee you that we all fit into them in some form or fashion. And a lot of times we fit into multiple areas within that group. So I urge you all, I implore you all to get involved, get with the leads. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment tonight or today, but get with the leads, get some more information, and just get yourself immersed. This is all one community that we share, and this is all one community that we want to see improve. So we can't do that without everybody's involved.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll invite our Goal 5 leads.
Thank you. I think we're on the home stretch. How y'all doing? I'm gonna shake out a little bit here. I'm Laura Lamb, work City of Kalamazoo, and with me is Seamal, our neighborhood activator with the City of Kalamazoo. Let's see, the clicker. I'll try. Okay, so Goal 5. One of the themes I think we're all hitting on here, and these goals are packed full of a lot, and so it takes some time to dig into them. We're talking about safe and accessible community spaces. We're talking about government, community relationships, resident leadership, collective action, and then we add in safe, stable, secure housing. So Goal 5, like a lot that you've heard today, has a lot going on. So in terms of priority actions, these are the kind of the 3 areas that we started to dive into a little bit. And like the other groups that you heard from, we really are starting at the beginning
stages. We know that we need to understand the work that's already happening before we start anew. So if you're sitting in this room, I see many of you who say, this really connects with my work. You have not missed out. Now is the time to get excited, to get engaged, and to help shape the work ahead. So in the category of not duplicating efforts, the last thing I wanted to do is bring neighborhoods together or housing providers together and say, let's do an asset map. I would have been run out of the room quite quickly. So with our Goal 6 team, they actually used the city's HUD 5-year plan really to look at assets that have already been identified. And what we understand is we have a lot of organizations doing this work. The key is how do we work together better and more impact. So a couple of things that we want to highlight in terms of what's going on. I think on the housing side, there's a lot of really good work happening. The Continuum of Care is in the final stages of finishing their 5-year plan to end homelessness. They did a lot of engagement, looking at evidence-based practice, looking at our data. Kalamazoo County, significant investments being made, Keys and Kalamazoo Housing Framework, looking at how things work across the continuum, how to improve shelter coordination, how to improve overall access to housing. And then with the city, we have a 5-year plan we have to do every 5 years for HUD. This time around, we looked at all the work that had been done with the blueprint, and we looked at how can these blueprint actions align with our HUD plan. What that means, as we get $2 million a year, hopefully, from HUD coming in, we are able to align our HUD dollars with the blueprint along the lines of housing, economic mobility, providing support for our unhoused community, and so on. Lastly, I wanted to highlight that although we know our housing challenges seem greater than ever, where I find optimism is the way in which I think our collaborations are improving. Between the Continuum of Care, City of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo County, we shared a $700,000 investment this past winter to try to make sure that we had temporary shelter. It was a great first step. We know we had more work to do, but I see it really improving from here. And lastly, in the neighborhoods, the City of Kalamazoo has spent a good part of the last year launching Imagine Kalamazoo 2035. This is our opportunity to chart a course for the city for the next 10 years. Over the course of the year, we've had over 4,500 community contacts, and we're still in the work. In addition to trying to get ahead of our strategic vision, we're also holding neighborhood meetings throughout the city. We've held 10 so far, I think 3 more to go. A quick plug, if you haven't already been engaged with Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, please jump on the city's website, see where the meetings are coming up. Please get involved and make sure that your voice is shaping the direction of our city. And lastly, I wanted to highlight, we heard a lot from public safety, but certainly as I think about community and government relationships, I appreciate the way that our department has community-oriented policing just embedded in their systems. We had community police officers that are assigned to every neighborhood, really helping to build the relationship, act as a liaison between the issues people are experiencing and how we can work together to solve those quality of life issues together. So what we learned, these are some common themes. In order for us to really focus on the work ahead, it's going to be critical that we understand the work that's already happening. This is how we can honor existing efforts and leadership. There's great work happening. We need to understand how it better connects together and help us understand how we have shared goals around neighborhood safety and stability. The duplication piece, it does require discipline. Sometimes it's easier to go fast and go alone. We know this, right? But listening, understanding, and connecting, that's where we think we're going to see the greatest collective capacity come out of this group. And lastly, one of the things I think that occurred to us is we know each of the goal groups wants to center itself in community voice, but sometimes it's hard for people to figure out how to access. How can we use Goal 5 as an opportunity to listen where the community wants to go and then help connect them to the action that Lola was talking about, the action that we're going to be doing? How do we use Goal 5 group to connect all of our community with each of the goal groups? With that, I'm going to turn it over to C, who is joining me to be able to talk about the work that's coming up ahead.
Yeah, so I'm C. Mall, the neighborhood activator with the City of Kalamazoo, and Laura looped me in to join her in this work 2 weeks ago. So I'm new to it, But I'm really excited about it because the work that's being done for the Blueprint for Peace, but also in this bucket, my role can play a very key part of that. So I'm very excited to be involved in this. When we look at the goals for this bucket, creating safe and accessible community spaces. So Laura kind of mentioned the Imagine Kalamazoo meetings that we're doing around the city, but that's one piece of that. But on a more individual level, I look at, for example, Bryant Street in the Edison neighborhood. So there was, it's a dead-end road. There was illegal dumping happening there. People doing burnouts, crime. And so my predecessor was in this role before me, was able to work with a community group, the Edison Resident Scholars, to say, well, hey, have you considered a play street there? So what they did was they took that street and they put in a mural and they put in a picnic table where people can read. And so now there is no illegal dumping and those types of activities happening there because they were able to shine a light on that space, and it was a community-led effort in partnership with the city. So I'm hoping that through my work as neighborhood activator, I can be identifying those types of projects that are community-led, that we can provide the resources and supports for, and then all the way up to working with groups like Building Blocks on bringing people together around physical projects, because there's no better way to build community than to bring folks in a neighborhood together, talking and working together with their hands on a physical project. So that those are all things that contribute to this work and contribute to this goal bucket. Also improving government-community relations. So I really loved hearing about the CVI work that's going on in the police station. But also that looks like making sure that internally in the city that we are working together and building communities of practice within the city, so that when we're working with community groups, we're building that trust, and folks in the community have a trusted person within the city that they can connect with, and they feel like they can ask real questions, and identifying how we can build those networks. And then most importantly, I think, is building resilient leadership and collective action within the neighborhood. So identifying in the neighborhood, like, who are the community leaders that are already doing that work, but who are the folks who are coming up, they're just getting involved, they're excited about a project. Commissioner Friedel actually brought to me at a Imagine Kalamazoo meeting, he had talked to a young gentleman who really wants to see voter turnout increase in Kalamazoo. And so his idea that he brought to the commissioner was, how can we, what was the highest turnout ever in Kalamazoo? Let's find out what the highest turnout ever was for the city of Kalamazoo, and how can we beat that in this upcoming election, right? So instead of saying, oh, well, the NAACP works on voter turnout, or the Y, or League of Conservation Voters, instead of pointing this young kid kind of like, oh, this work's already being done, go join them. Instead of giving him that, I'm going to connect with them now. We're going to keep, how can we take these goals and uplift them? How can we take these voices and bring folks together so that we can take these efforts, and more efforts can be like this one here. More efforts can be collaborative, which I think our next bucket we'll get into, which is perfect. So those are some of the things I'm looking forward to. The last thing I wanted to mention is asset mapping, right? So asset mapping has been done for this goal, but something that I want to do as neighborhood activator is it kind of relates to this idea of each neighborhood having their own plan. I want to see asset mapping done in our communities. How can we work with the Northside neighborhood to asset map the Northside neighborhood and have that information and be empowering people and having them see those connections? So those are all things, works that relate to this bucket that I'm excited to work on, and happy to talk to anyone who has been already working on this bucket and has ideas that they want to share or wants to work on it moving forward. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Steve.
So as you see, when you come to, just as a warning, when you come to Blueprint, in any Blueprint space, we get you working quickly. So that's 2B, C is on it. So look forward to that action. So now, as we transition, we're going to go into talking a little bit more about our measurement, evaluation, and learning work. It's a little bit dense, and we'll do our best to keep it kind of a little bit higher level. That's our goal 6 area as we round out our day, and then we'll finish with a little bit of a policy conversation with opportunities, and then we'll do a call of action. And at that time, you'll get a QR code so that you can sign up to be a part of some of this amazing work. So I invite Goal 6 along with, I think that's our.